So I get to the airport. I'm panicking. The waiting game at this point is...
It's too much.
I'm like, do I need to call my psychiatrist and get on like anxiety medications or something?
Yeah.
So I get to the airport and sure enough, my CJO comes through and I'm offered a position with a training date. And I looked over at these two passengers that were traveling to Greensboro. And I said, Miss, can I share something with you? She's like, yeah. I said, I just got hired by the airline you're flying on today as a flight attendant. Mm-hmm. And I said, I've been really unhappy for a really long time. And I really think this is going to be the one thing that saves my life. Mm-hmm. And she started crying.
Welcome to another episode of the Layover Podcast. My name is Bree, your host. This happens to be part 2 of the interview I had with Martin. If you haven't checked out part 1 yet, go do that first and then come back here. We're talking about the application process and you don't want to miss it.
So there was about 30 of us there. There were people there that were not prepared. They did not have their resume. There were people that showed up late. They were asked to leave. So we were all lined up. And we walked into a hotel conference room, and it was set up typical rows facing forward. There were recruiters there, HR managers there, other folks from the company that were there. They gave us a good 20 minutes to just sit silent, and you had a choice. You had a choice to just sit there on your phone, or you had a choice to introduce yourself to other potential classmates. I'm naturally an extroverted person with a big personality, as you know. Yes. Working in mental health for 13 years, I listened more than I talked, and that's why I talk so much now, is because I just, I've just got so much to say, really. But like, the first thing they did was check our height. They wanted to make sure that we were able to walk down an aisle and fit down that aisle. Everyone seemed to have passed the height requirements and walking down the aisle. They then had us get they called us up one by one to show our passports and our resumes. Okay. So they checked those things. We sat back down.
And those are really the basics. Like if they ask you to bring your resume, your passport, and I don't know, a copy of something, who knows, or a statement or something, have the basics. Like show up on time and have what they ask. Like that's baseline right there.
And look sharp. I mean, we are the face of the company. Mm-hmm. They spend more time with us than any other aviation professional through their travel experience, right? Mm-hmm. So look sharp. They want to see how you carry yourself. My resume, my passport, and my other documents, I had them in a really nice folder. I didn't just walk in with a resume in my hand. I wanted them to show that I was well prepared and organized, because you have to be prepared and organized with this job because there's so many moving parts. It's not like you just wake up and get on an airplane. There's things that we have to do to prepare for a flight. So they want to see that readiness and that organization. So we sat down, then they called us up one by one in front of everyone, introduced ourselves, where we were from.
Yeah. To this day.
Yeah.
That's for like a fun fact or something.
Yeah, fun fact. And then, that's all it was, just a fun fact. They just wanted to, and then they had us read a boarding announcement because they wanted to see if we could speak, read, and understand fluent English. Okay. So when I walked up there, so I do really well one-on-one in small groups, but large groups I somewhat freeze. I don't like the attention on me as much as I have this big personality. But I went up there, I turned around, I faced the wall, I took a deep breath, and I said, this is a part of the process. I'm in a safe place. I'm organized. And I said these things to myself within 10 seconds. And going back to just being yourself. So I'm a person who deflects with humor and comedy. And when seriousness needs to happen, I'm serious. But I wanted them to see my personality. So I said, hi, my name is Martin. I'm from this city. And then I said, go our sports team, because I knew some of the recruiters were from that same city, and they smiled and they laughed and they responded to that. I told them what I did in my previous career. So they saw that I have experience. I didn't talk much about my aviation experience, because here's the thing. Sometimes when you have too much aviation experience, it becomes a hindrance, because a lot of folks will bring that over thinking that it's going to be the same experience, when each airline operates 100%. Completely different. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like in the training classroom for people who have aviation experience.
There was a guy like that in my in-person interview at the event, and he had been a flight attendant before, and he left for whatever reason, and all the people were circling around him, because you're there, everybody wants what you want, like everybody wants the same thing, so they're like, this guy's done it, everybody's talking to him, he's gregarious, he's talking to everybody. When they start making offers, he didn't get one, and he was crying, and I felt bad for him, because you could tell how much he loved aviation, but it's just like he played up that he had been a flight attendant before so much. I think it became a disadvantage for him. Yeah,
of course, because they want to train you their way, and they have every right, because each airline operates completely different. Everything from safety to customer service, So I sat back down, and then they did a group interview. And they put us in groups of maybe 7 to 10.
Yeah, about the same.
And then they had us stand up, read a question, and ask what we would do in that situation. Yeah. Again, focus on protecting people. Safety and security always. So after that, we went back into the room.
On those group interviews.
Yeah.
In ours, they did specify they wanted us to respond in the STAR. Did they talk to you about that?
Yes.
It's like situation, don't remember the T, something, result, action, result, or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember it, to be honest, but if you do a Google search or go on YouTube, you can look up some mock interviews.
I was going to say, like, you can have this interview in the bag. Like, before I went, I looked up just, like, the questions they might ask, and I printed out a sheet. And I feel like that made me it put me a little bit over the edge, just more prepared, because I had heard of that little STAR model right like the day before I went, just by looking up things on Google. So you can
you can find examples, mock interviews and things like that, or if you have a friend that works in HR, talk to them about it. But we went back into the room, then they called us in for our one-on-one. During the presentation and the one-on-one, they reiterated, hey, you're only going to be making X amount of dollars a year. Are you okay with this? They kept repeating that. Do you have extra income? Yes. Do you have children? They asked me if I had any tattoos, and I said yes. Do not lie about your tattoos. I have a tribal tattoo on my left chest that goes all the way down to my elbow. And I got a Sweet Miss Doubtfire tattoo on my right forearm. When she asked and I told her, before she got to me or looked at that as a negative, as a person who deflects with humor, I said, look at this Miss Doubtfire tattoo. And she said, oh my gosh, I love Miss Doubtfire. So then we start talking about Robin Williams and, that connectability that, that's really important, for me, I'm just naturally a connector. That's one of my strengths and assets. So I use that personality trait to connect with the recruiter, not to people please or to kiss ass, but this is just naturally who I am. So once we joked about the tattoo, I said, I see that the airline has long sleeve shirts. These long sleeve shirts would cover my tattoos. Would you see this being a problem? And she said, no, not at all. So I'm like, okay, great. Yeah. And then she asked, she said, these are the training dates. Do you have anything coming up that would get in the way? That's a really good indication you've gotten the job. Yeah. Right? Once they start talking, and now this is just the airline I work for. Yeah. If they start talking about training dates with you, that's a really good indication you've gotten the job. But let me just tell you, that's just the first small part of this entire hiring process. I mean, I applied in April. I didn't get finished until June with everything. So
and yours was pretty fast. Like you said, you had the application. 3 days later, you had the video interview. It was
it was boom, 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 boom. Yeah. A lot of people look at that as a red flag, right? When there's a sense of urgency with hiring mass groups of people at once. I didn't see it that way. I looked at it as just being very organized. My airline...
I think that's this world, too.
Yeah.
It depends on the industry.
Yeah. I felt that they were very organized during the onboarding process. And so I said, I can start training this date. I have nothing going on. And she's like, okay. And she's like, do you have any questions for me? And I said, yes. Come prepared with at least one question.
Yeah. And if you're serious, you will have them. So just let your seriousness about becoming a flight attendant and going from where you are to there guide you. Because you're going to have questions about, how does this work? How does that work? If you're really thinking about getting into the job.
And it doesn't have to be a question about the industry. My question was, how does your airline promote and affirm diversity, equity, and inclusion? And the recruiter said, well, we actually have a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, and we participate in Pride, Black History Month. And I one of the things I encourage you to do is to study and learn the airline's values, core values. There's an old saying that relationships don't end because of finances and poor communication. They end because their values, two people's values change. And that can also be with your employer too. So if you value integrity and teamwork and your company or your partner does not, there's going to be resentment and dissatisfaction there, right? So I value diversity. My airline values diversity. I walked away really confident about it. She shook my hand. She said, Martin, it's been a pleasure meeting you. And soon as I got out the door, because they were going to have a shuttle taking a group of us to the airport, I'm like, holy shit. Oh my God, it's happening. I feel the energy. The universe is rearranging itself. I'm totally in. I've got to pack my house up. I've got to put in my 2 weeks. I've got to start saving this money, but I've got this going on. I got my niece and nephew's birthdays coming up. I've got to pay off this bill. And I just had to trust the process. Like, I just had to trust that this is my destiny. So I get to the airport. I'm panicking. The waiting game at this point
it's too much.
I'm like, do I need to call my psychiatrist and get on like anxiety medications or something? So I get to the airport, and sure enough, my CJO comes through, and I'm offered a position with a training date. And I looked over at these two passengers that were traveling to Greensboro, and I said, Miss, can I share something with you? She's like, yeah. I said, I just got hired by the airline you're flying on today as a flight attendant. And I said, I've been really unhappy for a really long time, and I really think this is going to be it. I think this is going to be the one thing that saves my life. And she started crying. She hugged me. And she said, we love your airline. We fly your airline all the time. And she said, your airline. I get home, and I just let it all sink in, and I said, okay, it's time to get to work.
Let's go.
I start taking pictures of all my personal belongings. Now, mind you, I'm not telling people to get rid of all their personal belongings. If you've got a home, or if you're living with mom and dad, or you've got your own apartment, and you've got, you're married and you have a home. My situation.
One flight attendant's journey is one flight attendant's journey.
Absolutely. Just based on what I shared with everyone before, with just where I was at with my unhappiness and grief and things like that, it was just the appropriate thing to do. I was ready for a complete change. I was able to get out of my lease. It worked out. I got my deposit back even though I broke the lease.
What happened with those birthday parties? I'm curious. Your niece and nephew?
It got put on the back burner. I come first.
Okay.
My entire life, I have caught myself on fire to keep other people warm. I've put myself last. I've put everybody first, and like I said, I lost some friends along the way because I started saying no. it was my time. It's my time.
Yeah.
And it feels, if you're a people pleaser, it feels very selfish to put yourself first.
Yeah.
And I started taking pictures of things that I needed to get rid of, and I sold everything, and I had money for training, and the day's getting closer, and the airline sent me a study packet. They sent me things I can and cannot bring to training. Mm-hmm. There are some Facebook groups out there for new hire flight attendants for this specific airline. Mm-hmm. Please use that, but do not use that as your all in all for answers. Use your recruiter. That is why they are there. Mm-hmm. You have a recruiter, ask them any questions, because if there's a discrepancy, you have it in an email saying that you had this conversation. It just protects you, because during the hiring process, you can't mess up. You have to follow rules. Mm-hmm. So this is when the background check starts. Be honest on your background check. For example, I got pulled over when I was 22, and I didn't know I had a speeding ticket, and I had a court date. I didn't know about it. And when I got pulled over, I got arrested for 2 hours. It got dismissed. I put that down, but it wasn't an issue. Yeah. So if we all have had a past, if there's something on there that you feel that needs to be on there, don't be embarrassed. Believe me, there are people that work for the airlines that have done some wild things in their lives. So don't be embarrassed. Just put it down. Honesty is key.
Better to find out ahead of time what the consequence would be than later.
Yeah.
After you sold all your things and
exactly.
Yeah.
And that was the part that was so scary. It's like, oh my gosh, because I'm not even a U.S. citizen. I'm like, because I had to do a background check in the U.K. too. So I'm slowly getting rid of things. I've already gotten out of my lease. I've already made arrangements for my car to be parked at my friend's house. Yes. Like I've rehomed my pets to my ex. Like there's just been so moving parts, and if this all falls through, I'm gonna look and feel like an idiot, and I'm gonna live in a house with no pots and pans.
And no pets.
No pets. I'm gonna be lonelier than I was before. So from there, I did my drug test. What I can tell you is, if you are an avid, I'm not a person that partakes in marijuana or any type of substances, but I do know of people that you need a clean drug test to do this job.
Pretty much. If
you're prescribed medications that would come up on a drug screen, be honest about that. These are things that they take very serious, just because the airlines has zero tolerance for excessive alcohol and substance abuse, and it's because flight attendants, we have to have that situational awareness at all times. We have to be coherent. We have to know what's going on.
Some of those regulations are also above the airline.
Exactly.
FAA, DOT type stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So so I did the drug test. Everything came back fine. So check. So once that comes back, because I was even thinking like, oh my gosh, I take melatonin. What if it comes up as, cocaine or something? I don't know. Like I was just freaking out. I was just worrying. Did the fingerprints. I do want to talk about CBD though. I've seen a lot of flight attendants not get hired because they use CBD as like a sleep aid or anti-anxiety, and what I can tell you is CBD will come up as cannabis. So if you're thinking about applying, I would stop using all CBD, cannabis, hemp products, because they will show up on a drug screen. And a DOT drug screen is very thorough. I mean, they can sense the slightest of substances. Yeah, right. It's not like your typical, drug screen that you would take at another employer.
So if you're thinking about applying and you're using those sorts of things,
stop smoking weed.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Tone it back and figure out other ways to deal with what you're going through.
Yes.
And you can look that up or talk to a therapist or something, but yeah. And
one of the things you're going to have to commit to, because I don't think we've had a big conversation about marijuana and flight attendants, and I know a lot of flight attendants have been let go from their jobs because, they'll go out to Vegas on a non-rev trip and they get drunk and they're like, I'll hit that weed pen, and then they get drug tested and they get randomed, and then you're done. And here's the thing, if you fail a drug test with the DOT, you are on a database. You're on a database. You will not be able to get hired with any type of DOT job ever. So, you know,
my first year, I got random. I was telling you that like 5 times.
Yeah.
I would come off the plane and there the lady was, oh, I'm taking you. And I'm just like, dang, you know?
Yeah.
So some people, they don't, but, you know, it's called random for a reason.
Yeah. So, you know, if you plan on being a flight attendant for the long haul, be prepared to have be prepared to be abstinent from drug-free. You have to be drug-free. That's a commitment that you'll have to make to yourself for the rest of your life.
As it stands right now, even in states where it's legal, it's you can't do it.
Absolutely not.
So,
even if you're prescribed it from a physician.
Yeah, that may change in the future, but as of right now, that's still the case. So even if you're living in California, Colorado, I think Ohio even, yeah, you still
so like no weed. Let's just
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no weed for you guys. If you're going to be a flight attendant, you got to quit smoking weed.
Got to stop it.
Drug test, background check, fingerprints went smooth, and it was boom, 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 one after another. The airline had this sense of urgency for me to get all these things done before the training dates. The application process is, with my airline specifically, was quick. It was fast. If I can leave you with anything, just be honest, be thorough, read all the directions, read all the instructions, stay away from negativity in any type of Facebook groups. Start making friends with your classmates if you've connected, get numbers at the interview. Don't let it be a scary process. Try to be really enthusiastic about this, because here's what I can tell you now. I've been flying almost a year, and I am having the time of my life. I am very rarely home. I spend most of the month in a hotel room. If not in a hotel room, I am drinking coffee on some patio at a coffee shop in a different city, or I'm having Cajun food in Louisiana.
Yes.
Yeah, or having the best cheese curds that you can have in Wisconsin.
Okay. Having the chowder in Maine.
Yeah. Or if it's a really long layover and you're within those FAA guidelines, going out and having cocktails and seeing a drag show with the crew. Yeah. And sometimes it's just, you know what? I've had a long day. I'm going to get in my PJs, lay in bed, and watch Forensic Files and just unwind. When you're interviewing and you're going through the application process, one of the ways you can distract yourself from that negative thinking is, start thinking of the pros. You get free flight benefits, not just on your airline, but other airlines. So if you've got 4 days off and you wake up one morning, I feel like shit. Go to the airport, look at the terminal board, jump on that flight to Miami, stay a night, go lay on the beach, get some sun, go do it. There's nothing holding you back. Take your family on a trip. Think of all the wonder. If you're a person who's been single your whole life, you may meet your future partner with this job.
A lot of people we encounter with this thing.
Start thinking of the amazing fun outcomes that are going to come, and you've just got to just believe in yourself. I'm not sure if you've heard of imposter syndrome before, but I'm not going to go into it, but just Google imposter syndrome. It's just this core belief that people just don't feel like they're good enough, and they're going to get figured out that they're not good enough, when really they're just amazing at what they do. And I know for me, at the end of my breakup, my self-esteem was shattered. I had no confidence. I started losing weight. I started exercising, eating healthy, because girl, I needed to look sharp in that uniform.
Okay, I gotta put this through.
Honey, I'm not getting on that airplane looking like a.
Because you might meet your match.
You may meet your match.
Ready.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know who's on your plane, So, just start preparing and just write a list. Write a list of all the things that you're excited about with this job. If you're a person right now hesitant or just riddled with anxiety and just full of fear and what ifs, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. And you know what? If it doesn't work out,
apply again.
Go to a different airline. Mm-hmm. And if you get hired by the airline and you get let go from training, apply to another airline. There was a girl in my class who was let go because she failed a test on the second week. Mm-hmm. She left, went to another airline. She is loving it.
I met a girl in my training class. She had been through 3 of those hiring events and had not been hired. I didn't understand why. I was like, this girl is a flight attendant. Like, what are you guys not seeing? And then I saw her out on the line. She tried a 4th time. Try again.
Yeah. And I'll leave you with this. I do this with everything. This is when I'm angry at someone. This is when I'm de-escalating a passenger. This is when I have conflict with my friends. This is when I was just telling you yesterday, my biggest pet peeve in life is when people don't say thank you. Mm-hmm. If you can learn how to talk with a smile, life is going to be really easy for you when it comes to conflict. So when you're at that interview, talk with a smile. Yeah. Let the personality shine and just be yourself.
Okay. Well, your personality has been shining on this podcast. It has been a super big pleasure to have you. Thank you for coming. And any last words?
Just good luck out there. Start applying. Get on the line. We'll see you out there.
Okay, guys. Well, you heard it here. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Well, I hope you liked that episode. If you did, let us know. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Write out that list Martin was talking about of things you're looking forward to. Not just so you can have a cool list, but so you can reference that list when things get difficult, when you get anxious, because both of those things are likely to happen. Good luck with the application process. I hope you got something from your time with us today. And remember, sometimes you have to lay over to go further.